Kati Bird, welcome to the Uncivilized podcast. I will tell the audience, you know this, but you and I have met a couple times, and I've wanted to have you on for so long. And so I try not to like geek out and get super excited when I have people on who I've wanted to have on for so long. So this is now me being calm and collected. Hi, welcome to the Uncivilized podcast, Kati Bird. I'm not fucking excited like a child jumping up and down inside. I am an uncivilized man. Welcome. Thank you for being here. And for people who don't know you, tell us a little bit about you, Kati, and tell us where you are and how you got there.
Well,
We've
thank
got
you
all
for that.
kinds of stuff to dive in with you.
Yeah, thank you for that intro. And I also feel equal excitement to see you and just like, how our paths have crossed and getting to spend some quality time with you very recently in Costa Rica. So yeah, you feel close to me as well. And re-seeing you in this moment feels great. At this exact moment in time, I am in Park City, Utah. I am quite a world traveler as I pretty much just follow my heart and the guidance to wherever I'm meant to go to share my gifts of Shibari, the Japanese art of tying the body in ropes. And honestly, just following wherever the thread pulls me. So yeah, a little bit about me. So for your listeners who do or don't know what Shibari is, it's been something that's been a large part of my life for the last 5 years. And to be quite honest, it was an accidental discovery. I had a background in ropes with rock climbing, rappelling, outdoor survival. So I was very familiar with the medium. But quite honestly, when I had seen Shibari, I was like, I will never do that in my life. That is violence. That's abuse on women. I would never touch that. And so when I actually did discover it, I was quite surprised by the gifts and knowledge and wow, the movement that existed inside of me from having the ropes both in my hands and on my body. It was quite compelling. So yeah, my journey the last 5 years has really been around exploring not only just tying, but the intimacy and connection piece that I appreciate so much.
I want to tug on one little thread as it pops because it popped up. Where had you seen Shibari before that gave you that reaction? And then can you walk us through the very first time you tied someone or were tied, or when the shift happened for you?
Yeah. So it was a previous partner actually that we stayed in really good connection, and he had shown me like, oh, look, like I'm learning Shibari and I'm tying my partner, and he had shown me a picture and kind of explained it to me, and everything in my body contracted. And I was like, I just had all these ideas around, oh, that's, and he was such a sweet man. So it was so confusing to me. And I was like, wow, that's abusive on women. Like that's hurting her. That's you taking advantage of her. Not necessarily that I was thinking he was doing that, but I just like a generalization of ropes on a woman's body. She has to be naked. It has to be sexual. Yeah, there was just like this contraction within myself. And I never really saw it or heard of it after that. But I was aware because he had shared with me that he was practicing it. And then fast forward, I don't know, maybe 3-4 years. And honestly, it was like divinity. It just like, I got invited to a workshop and I didn't know what it was. I had messaged this girl. We were trying to connect about exchanging something. And she's like, oh, I don't need that anymore. But come to my house tonight. I'm having a workshop. It's on me. And I was like, cool, sounds great. And I went, and that's what it was. So I was surprised, but at the same time, at that point, I was a pretty avid rock climber, and I wasn't climbing for like 6 months. And so when I saw the ropes, I just felt this immediate like adoration of like, oh, the ropes, the things I love. And I kind of like didn't even think about that previous story. But what I came to recognize was that my perspective of what I saw in him sharing that with me was actually my own fears. I projected my own fears on him because it was, I have a fear of being abused. I have a fear of being taken advantage of. I have a fear of being trapped and someone hurting me in some way. So that was what I projected on. That was all my story. And going into my own experience with the ropes, the workshop was guided so that both people learn how to tie and that they're tied. And I tied first, and everything just made sense in my hands because I know how to move the ropes, like building anchor systems on big walls and belaying and all of that. So it all was making sense. And I was really like totally entranced by tying. This meditative focus, also attuning to the partner and asking them how it felt, and then having them like in my hands. And I felt both like empowered in this sense of leadership, and also this terror of like, oh my gosh, I have responsibility for this human now.
Yeah.
And there was both like desire for like, oh, like now I can move them and I can do different things, and feeling curious for that, but then simultaneously that fear of like, what if I hurt them, or what if I do something wrong? And so it really started to show to me the strengths and weaknesses in my leadership, or in the embodiment of my energetic of the masculine. So like my yang energy, like where was I feeling really good, and where was I feeling like I wasn't stepping up, or where was I not expressing my desires, or afraid to hurt someone, therefore not exploring. So that came up when I was tying.
Yeah.
And then when we switched roles, yeah, same sort. The person did the same tie on me as I did on them, and just feeling the sensation of the rope, and then feeling my muscles relax as I was being held, and then them kind of like gently rocking me and moving me. And with this particular person, like we sat down on the floor, and they just kind of like held me and squeezed me and like gently touched my arms. And I enjoyed it. Like I was like, wow, I actually feel really safe. And this person is asking me questions about how I'm doing. And there's nothing, I'm wearing all of my clothes. Like this is very, and it's in a class setting. It's very easygoing. And when they untied me, I was flying high. I like couldn't speak. I was all floaty. I was so relaxed. It was, yeah, I couldn't believe it. I had to wait like an hour and a half or two before I left the place, because I couldn't speak. And it was only for like 15 minutes. So I got very surprised about that impact on me, and also wanting more. I was like, well, that felt really good. It's like, I want more of that, whatever that was. And so I went into doing daily practices with that person and other people. And it was hard. It was like hard and beautiful simultaneously. Like I was getting triggered. I was like, because, you know, like on the other side of receiving, there was also vulnerability of like being seen, you know, emoting, and people like seeing you, feeling you, witnessing you, also getting triggered. Like I had experiences in that series of classes where we did a session and this person tied me, and we talked about all the boundaries and consent stuff. And there was a miscommunication where I said sensual, and they understood like, oh, that means I kiss you all over. And I'm like, that is not what I meant by sensual, not romanticizing me. And that's what they understood. So that caused a contraction in my body. And then I saw like, oh shit, these are my like little T trauma responses of like freezing and not being able to advocate for myself. And then I'm just stuck inside. And I just became so hyper aware of like, oh, this doesn't only exist in the ropes. This exists in life and other situations. It just was able to be amplified in just one single moment. But this exists outside of here. It's not just this. So to me, it just opened up everything that I'd been studying and researching and practicing in my life.
It's so wild that it's a chance encounter, right? Or like a random encounter. Do you send that woman like a Christmas card every year? Like, thanks again for inviting me for the workshop. Like,
yeah, it is a chance encounter. And I really feel like it was meant for me. Like, Shibari just like came into my life, and I was looking for years and years, looking for like the healing modality that like fit me, because I know that I struggle with the word healer, and I struggle with labeling myself with anything, but it is a capacity that I have connected to, that I know in my body and being that there's healer capabilities within me. And I didn't know what they were. And I was like, natural medicine, acupuncture, Reiki, all these things, and nothing was clicking. I'm like, this isn't mine, not mine, not mine, not mine, not mine. It's not me. And then when Shibari hit, I was like, oh, this bizarre dark art is mine.
Namaste, dark art.
Thank you, dark art, for coming into my life.
I love
Kinky
it.
healing, great, wonderful.
Yeah.
Better than I could have imagined.
I would love to get into where you studied, how you dove into this, like what the next steps were, but would love first to take a couple steps back and hear who you were prior to this. Like, were you always bouncing around the world? Were you living alternatively, or were you, you know, like an intern at JP Morgan for a couple of years and then said, fuck it.
I guess you don't know, right? You have no idea.
No, I know very little of your origin story or your pre-rope story.
Yeah. So I guess I will share, just to give a brief history of my life. I grew up in North Carolina in like a Christian sort of background. So that was very much indoctrinated in me. And I was one of 6 kids, and I was the only girl. So 5 brothers and me, and the Christianity really got poured into me.
Mm.
The rules, the expectations. My brothers were like, "Oh, you're fine, Katie. No, you have to stay in
Mm.
line."
Okay.
And so the impacts of Christianity was pretty strong on me, and I was experiencing a lot of things in my life that I wasn't being able to talk to anyone about.
Mm.
And I had this understanding quite young that if I didn't process the traumas I was experiencing, they would root into my body into sickness or repetitive patterns. And how I knew
Wow.
this at like 13 and 14 blows my mind, but I was very aware that it could lead me towards like drug addiction or abusive relationships or continued trauma or even sickness within. And
Mm.
so from a young age, I was reading all these different books by like Lois Hay and Wayne Dyer and whoever I could
Mm.
get my hands on, like about chakras and anything, because I
Yeah.
just felt that there was something in it that I could learn to heal myself.
Mm.
Um, that yeah, from the path. So that was kind of my start into like being really curious and invested in like personal development and like the light side of healing.
Okay.
Um, and then I studied art. I was an artist for years. Painting was my medium, and traveling was always like my mom was like, you wanted to leave, like when you wanted to just be gone, like you just wanted out. And it's true, as soon as I was 18 I was going international and traveling to learn Spanish, and just for my own curiosity, but also as a woman traveling solo, as a
Mm.
blonde woman traveling in South America, it was quite a challenge to like learn how to be in my being and feel safe in the world.
Mm.
And I felt threatened in a lot of places, but I was still adamant, being like, I'm going to be free, I'm going to travel, I'm going to
Yeah.
feel safe. So yeah, I would take off for months at a time and just go see the world. Um, and then I am very passionate for the outdoors and rock climbing
Right.
and adventures. So what that led me to living in Utah for being an outdoor guide for troubled youth. So
Oh, no
this was
kidding.
yeah. So I did this for 2.5 years, and this is probably my job now is pretty extreme, and this is another extreme for sure. But yeah, as an outdoor guide, I was working with troubled youth. I worked with teenage boys, teenage girls,
Mm.
and young adults, mostly with teenage girls, which
Yeah.
terrified me. I was like, put me with the
Mm.
teenage boys. I can deal with gang mentality. Like, let's go. I have brothers. We can do this.
Right. Right.
And I learned so much from that as well about leadership and also just about the souls of these beings and the struggles
Mm.
that they have and the inability that they have to vocalize what's happening in their lives. And yeah, just many beautiful things. But then also working with teenage girls, and they're coming in with anxiety and depression and
Mm.
different traumas and bipolar and all of these things, and living in nature. And we're 24/7 outside, no
Yeah.
matter if it's 103 degrees or -16. We are
Mm.
outside in the elements and learning how to exist
Mm.
and teaching them how to prepare their meals, how to thermoregulate, like how to build the shelter, teaching them outdoor survival skills, teaching them rock climbing and mountain biking and skiing and then camping. And no matter what the weather is, and simultaneously it's a therapeutic program. So we're doing ceremonies and therapeutic groups every
Mm.
day, multiple times a day, and focusing on one particular student or multiple students. Our groups were typically 8 people. So I would have like 4 students that I was in charge of, but I was the group leader. So I was in charge of everything. So I wore all the hats. I'm like, I'm the mother, I'm the medic, I'm the lawyer, I'm the police officer,
Yeah.
I'm the traffic manager. Like I'm everything. Um, and it was wild. It taught me a lot.
Yeah.
And I worked side by side therapists. We were in communication every day with therapists, and then also sitting in on sessions. So I was very much in the therapeutic field,
Mm.
like very intimately for that 2.5 years.
It's. Do you know Michael Gay?
Hmm.
You know that name? I think he's come to one of your workshops, perhaps in Asheville. He's a therapist that works with me at Uncivilized,
Okay.
and he was a wilderness guide for like 6 or 7 years, some crazy amount of time, given how much time is spent outdoors. And the stories he has from that time are so informative still to how he deals with adults and deals with people with trauma. And I imagine it's an incredible like training ground, or like, you're in the trenches with people and you're not sitting on a couch for 50 minutes once a week, but you're like living with them with the chaos of the outdoors. I can see how that would prepare you very well for what you do now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Katie,
Yeah.
Katie, can we hop back into like, okay, you've done that first workshop, you're committed to tying, but from the little I know, there was like a deep dive. Can you talk about a bit about your education with rope, or what were the next couple steps for you to go from holy shit, I think I found my thing, to holy shit, I'm bouncing around the world teaching my thing and practicing my thing?
Yeah. So once I did those workshops, and I just started exploring daily with someone that I had met in the class, and we were just going into showing up with like, what's your emotion today? And I'm like, I'm angry. So
Mm.
they would tie me, and I would just like rage and like throw myself against the ropes, and all these emotions would pour out.
Mm.
And we just were practicing random stuff. And then where I was living, I was on a small island in Thailand. And so this was right at the beginning of COVID. And so
Oh wow.
I didn't have access to going out. There wasn't
Mm.
anywhere where I could leave to go to learn from. And so there was just a couple resources on the island. One was a man who was the first person who suspended me, and that came months later.
Mm.
But I just started reaching out to people online and doing online classes and learning online. And then
Okay.
I became a model for this guy, and he started tying me and suspending me. And I started having these really intense experiences. He's more of a sadist and
Mm.
really focuses on a type of rope called seminawa, which means
Okay.
torture rope. And
Mm.
so the idea is like finding the beauty in the challenge, and like
Mm.
how I'm emoting and feeling the intensity of the ropes. There is a beauty to that.
Yeah.
And so being tied by him. And then there's a woman who I studied with and have studied with for the last 4 years, Tatiana Lamati, and she came to the island, and she was training him. So I did 8 classes as a
Mm.
model, 8 3-hour classes as a model for him, and doing all these different suspensions and ties. And I was watching, and I was like, I can do all this. Like, this is all familiar to me. The suspension, I can look at what's happening and memorize it, because I know these systems from rock
Rock.
climbing. And not that they're the
Yeah.
same, but I learned how to memorize how the ropes need to move and look for my own safety as I'm 1,000 feet off the ground.
Sure.
So I was a model for those classes. And then I continued self-studying and learning with her in person. Um, and I made a commitment to myself to study every single day and to tie every single day for, um, the limit I set for myself in the beginning was 3 months, and it ended up becoming 5. And so I booked a model for every single day, and they would come over, and each of them had a different theme. Like, one person would be like, oh, I want to explore acrobatics. And it all had to do
Mm.
with suspension. I was learning suspension at that point. And so we would do acrobatic stuff, and someone would call or come over and say sensual and, more
Mm.
erotic. And someone would say, I'm processing this challenging thing, and I want to be angry, and I want to fight you. And everyone had
Mm.
a different intention. And I just would hear them, go into a session space, whatever would be created, usually like a 2 or 3 hour journey. And then we would like, close the session and speak about it. But I did this diligently. If someone canceled, I got someone else. If they canceled, I self-tied and did self-exploration.
Wow.
And that dedication really expedited my process.
Yeah.
And yeah, it also just really, the way that I went about it, it wasn't like it was just doing technical ties and learning how to do the structured ties. I was connecting to the emotion and the story and the essence of the human. And it
Mm.
felt shamanic. This is what was happening, is I was going into other dimensions with these people. And it was like that since day one for me. So I had
Okay.
a very unique understanding of the ropes, because I pretty much was developing it on my own, mixing other modalities into it. And so
Mm.
when I started to meet other Shibari communities, I felt a little confused, like I didn't fit, because I had my
Mm.
own style and way of connecting with the ropes that felt quite different than other spaces that I was finding.
That's wild. So it was 150 straight days of tying. I mean, that's just a brilliant, like, for anybody listening, you want to get a base of knowledge around something.
Every day.
Do get your reps in, right?
Yeah.
That's incredible. Katie, can we talk about? I would love to talk about the other aspects of rope beyond the rope. You mentioned some of them, that you're connecting to emotion, you're acting out an emotion, you're acting out a scene, you're meeting an emotion with an additional emotion, or there is a healing aspect to it. Like, what's going on outside of the ropes in a rope session?
Yeah. So how I kind of see it is, when I come into contact with someone with the ropes, there's so much proximity. Like, even in day-to-day life, we're not meeting people with such proximity or touch or conversational depth. And
Yeah.
so when someone comes to me for the ropes, I'm asking them about their body. I'm asking about them about their boundaries and kind of why they want to come to me, why they're interested in being tied by me, because it's becoming very intimate. Like I'm close, I'm breathing on them, I'm touching them, I'm
Yeah.
moving their body. And so there is this closeness that doesn't really exist in day-to-day lives unless you're with a partner or a lover or have really close friendships where there is touch.
Yeah.
So the when I go into these sessions, I have these intro conversations with people about all these things and kind of hear people share their stories and their traumas and
Mm.
their things that they desire or their fears. And like, I'm able to hear all that and say, okay, let's create something around that,
Mm.
around any of those things that feel curious. Maybe you struggle to vocalize your how an experience is feeling in your body. So every few minutes, we're going to check in, and you're going to articulate to me what's happening inside of you, and we're going to honor whatever is said. And so, to me, it's a beautiful practice ground for intimacy and relating, and how to
Mm.
like
Mhm.
talk about what you want or what you don't want, and also how you're feeling inside, and just to have
Mm.
time to focus on that. Even as simple as I will put my hands on someone's shoulders and start to lift their arm, and they can't even give me their arm. Like they can't
Mm.
even surrender their body weight into me holding it because they're so used to holding themselves that they don't know
Yeah.
how to relax into someone else supporting them. And I'll sit there and hold it, and I will move my hand and their hand will stay. And I'm like, okay, let's keep practicing, keep practicing.
Yeah.
And the ability to let go, actually, most of us don't
Mm.
have because we live in our minds and we're so disconnected from our bodies. And so the ropes is a body experience. People go to
Mm.
get massages and it's more of a passive experience of being moved and massaged, and yet it still doesn't access what a rope dynamic with another person will access if the intention is held. And
Mm.
um, so there's the whole somatic piece of these stories and things existing within our bodies that I love to connect to with the ropes and different positions. I mean, we've
Mm.
seen this in like, when you're feeling triumphant and you put your arms above your head, or when you're feeling
Yeah.
small and you put your head down, or when you're feeling
Mm.
low and your shoulders curl. All of these body positions are telling a message to you and informing your emotional being and your mind and your thoughts. So the same
Mm.
thing when we do different positions with Shibari, like, oh, I'm open, I'm exposed, I like this, or oh my gosh, I
Mhm.
feel like really vulnerable, or like this, I with the arms crossed across the front of the body, I feel protected and held, or I feel
Mm.
claustrophobic and like,
Yeah.
ooh, trapped. So there's
Yeah.
different messages that can come with different positions that can relate to different stories in one's life and recall
Mm.
those memories that people haven't even thought of forever or ever. And they just come to the surface, and then they're present, and all of a sudden there's this new embodiment where now I'm with an 8-year-old boy and he's going through a process, when
Right.
previously I was just then tying a 60-year-old man, but now he's an 8-year-old boy. So it's really curious this that happens in this space. And
Mm.
I utilize different types of touch on the body, from like soft and gentle to squeezing to scratching to, depending on
Mm.
our boundaries, slapping or biting or being more aggressive, and using my breath within that to
Mm.
activate the body, to create a reaction, a response in the person who's being tied. Um, yeah. So for me, when I'm in that vortex of tying, I go into a trance, and it's just kind of,
Yeah.
I'm listening to their breath. I'm watching their eyes. I'm watching their
Mm.
hands, their toes, their muscles. I'm feeling the tension, the release. And I'm pretty much just having this conversation with their body. And I don't always know what's happening inside, but I know that there's something happening and I can feel it. I'm very intuitive and sensitive to these
Mhm.
things. And if I'm feeling anxious, it's usually because they're anxious. If I'm feeling
Mm.
really relaxed and in flow, it's because they're going relaxed into flow. But I
Yeah.
also check in on this to see along the way.
I hope everybody listening to this now, when they see an image of Shibari, dissolve the idea that like, oh, someone just got tied up, this is abuse. Someone just got tied up, this is subjugation. Someone
Mm-hmm.
just got tied up, this is inappropriate. And listen to what you just said about how much information is flowing back and forth, how intimate it is, how communicative it is,
Mm-hmm.
how connected you have to be. And for you, the tire, how attuned you have to be. Like,
Mm-hmm.
talk about a master level of attunement when you're going to watch a little toe shift and go, okay, something just changed, or just feel the energetic shift in somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Do you kind of feel like this is just an oddball question? that you've sort of been trained your entire life for this with the random stuff that you've done.
Yeah.
Like it kind of built you into being really, really good at this, huh?
Yeah, I think several life experiences played into this. And one of these things that I think it made me so hyper attuned was my relation. I mean, everything stems from our families. And
Yeah.
I think it was my hyper attunement to my mother when I was very young.
Mm.
She was highly depressed. We were in upstate New York where the winters are really long, and she had three
Yeah.
young children, and she was at home alone, and she was postpartum, and all of
Mm.
this. And her depression was so severe. I mean, she told me later in life, but her depression was so severe that she was contemplating suicide, and she wasn't
Mm.
sure like what to do with us kids. And so she had like, what do I do with my young children? Who will care for them? And in her very sick mind at that time, because she was so unwell, so severely depressed, not having the resources or the help that we have today, or even the
Right.
knowledge of like like postpartum depression was even
Right.
existing so much in that time. But she was so unwell that she was like, oh, well, it makes the most sense that I would, of course, I would drown my babies in the tub. That would be the safest thing for them. And
Mm.
then I would take my own life. And so when I
Fuck.
think about this, I knew about this she told me when I was 15 about this. And when I think about this, I'm like, wow, if someone is considering murder and suicide, how would they show up as a person in the day to day life? How would they feel? They would not feel good. They would feel so
Right.
distant. She couldn't give me love. She didn't have it anywhere near her. So
Right.
I understand that in my young child body that there was something very wrong and my life was in danger if my mother wasn't okay.
Mm.
So I became
Mm.
hyper aware of how to attune to her. And fortunately, due to something she heard on the Oprah Winfrey show, plus a friend randomly showing up on the doorstep to live with us for 3 months, that is what interfered with the situation. And it didn't end up happening and things played out a different way. But
Yeah.
she was very sick for such a long time that like I knew in my body that if she wasn't okay, I wasn't okay. And so that
Yeah.
hyper attunement has stayed with me my whole life. And
Yeah.
I had the ability to, and I've worked with it a lot to manage it, but I would perceive other people's pain, especially hers. So if she
For
was
sure.
experiencing pain, I would extract it into my own body so that she didn't feel it, so that she was okay. Because if she was okay, I was okay. And
Mm.
so for many years in my life, I had severe back pain and neck pain and
Mm.
joint pain and times when I had to wear a brace on my waist and times when I couldn't walk and all of that because I was
Wow.
extracting her pain. And
Yeah.
then I cut that because I was like, hey, I'm backpacking in Bolivia and I just blew out my knees and all of a sudden my mom is experiencing her knees being blown out. There was this weird
Mm.
exchange and I was like, I'm not doing
Mm-hmm.
this with her anymore, this sharing
Yeah.
pain thing. But it was something that I would also do with other people that I didn't even know their pains. I just had the ability to pull it into my own body, their
Yeah.
emotional stuff, their hormonal stuff, their physical stuff. And I've now put boundaries on it, but it's something that I can tune into and I can become aware of and feel someone's emotional shifts or pain. So this sensitivity and understanding of pain in my own being does lend itself to the work that I do because people have a relationship with control and surrender because they fear pain. We
Yeah.
protect ourselves because we fear getting hurt in relationships, in our bodies, in our being rejected or anything. Like we this is like a base fear of like loss and being unloved. And so we protect ourselves from
Yeah.
experiencing pain. And that comes straight to Shibari, which is this
Mm.
exploration of the spectrum of intensity. But also within that, there's so much softness and also reframing how we experience pain and how we can convert it to pleasure and learning
Mm.
that circuit.
Yeah, that's wild. Thanks for sharing that story.
Mm-hmm.
We have a ethos at Uncivilized, and one of the tenets is your greatest gifts grow in the garden of your wounds. And it sounds like that is you are displaying that and living that out
Mm-hmm.
fully, right? If were it not for that very, very challenging childhood, you wouldn't have the attunement and the ability to feel that you have now.
Yeah.
Katie, can you talk about a little bit of I don't want you to go into any specific clientele, obviously, but what do you see as the other side for people who get to experience rope, get to experience this level of ex- I don't want to keep using the word experience, but someone who comes in perhaps a little bit hesitant, gets to be tied. What are just some of the common things you hear from people on the other side of it as an after
Mm-hmm.
effect or as a consequence, positive or negative?
Yeah. Well, honestly, every session is so different, and it really depends what people are coming in with. And I want to speak to that, and then I can speak to the after effect. But people come in with saying that they don't connect to
Mm.
sex in the same way that
Yeah.
other people do, and they don't relate in the traditional ways that of like just penetration, and they don't know how to find pleasure and satisfaction. And so they're like, I'm here because I want to explore other ways of connecting to my body. People come
Mm.
because they struggle to advocate for their needs and their desires, and they want to explore something like that. People come because they don't know how to let go, and they've never let
Mm.
go on anything, and they have so much control in their lives, and they don't want to think or make a decision, and they want someone else to do that with them or for them. People come because they have previous traumas and things in their body, and they want to kind of meet those things and feel those things. People come because they want to feel held. People
Mm.
come because it is a cathartic release that they can emote and be whatever they want to be, or explore sides of themselves that aren't deemed acceptable in society, and explore a different
Mm.
role that exists within themselves that is playing itself out in leaking out in ways that they don't want it to. And so they want to bring it into the space where they can explore it consciously, and so that they have more control or take their power back. So, and then there's even more than that. So
Yeah.
there's all of these things, and the after effect. Well, first off, things are happening during the session. People are crying, they're screaming, they're going and telling me stories about, all of a sudden they're in this other place and they're telling me all these things they're experiencing, or maybe I'm being verbal and provoking them in different ways. Um, there's so many things that are happening during the session, and sometimes it's silence and it's quiet and it's meditative, and
Mm.
then I'm like,
Mhm.
not really sure anything happened, and they're like, oh my god, I went here and I went there, and then I remembered this about my mother, and they're just, I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, all that happened in all of that silence, I have no idea.
Yeah.
So the after effect, well, a lot of people, there is this sort of transition, and I really try to go slow. I am very sensitive to transitions because I am very
Mm.
energetically sensitive. I can get high on the wind, like seriously,
Mm.
so I have to be careful because I get altered really quickly. And I want to respect people going into their bodies, because we operate so much in our minds that rarely are we actually feeling what's happening in our beings. And the
Mm.
ropes bring this sort of grounding due to the restriction, the tightness, the restricted blood flow, the release of hormones, endorphins, serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, all of that coming into the body so alive through
Mm.
the pressure, and it doesn't have to even be intense, but just the holding that releases that into the body. Well, at least
Yeah.
some of those. The endorphins comes with more intensity, but so the after effects are that people can feel kind of floaty or
Mm.
kind of heady, or sometimes it feels like the feeling that I have, and then maybe some people have explained it, is like I feel like I'm pushed through the bottom of the earth, like I'm like in the ground, just like
Oh, wow.
I'm grounded. Okay, I feel
Mm.
so heavy and weighted, and sometimes it's slow to come back.
Mm.
Some people pop back immediately, but I find that if you're really sinking into the body, like everything becomes a little bit more heightened, like sound and smell and taste, and the world moves a little bit slower. And I'm a very hyperactive person, and you can probably hear it in my voice. I talk fast, like I'm a fast girl. And it's so nice when I'm tied to feel that, oh, I can talk slowly and everything is
Mm.
more relaxed and peaceful and at ease, and thoughts are one at a time, if at all. Um, and then some people come out and they have all these big realizations or other big emotions that come through. Maybe something harder happened in the session, and so they're grappling with that, and I can
Mm.
support and walk with them in that. Or big realizations about how you haven't been receiving love or tenderness in the way that you've wanted, or you realize you've never been held. Like big things can
Mm.
come through in these experiences. So there's no set outcome, um,
Yeah.
but there isn't. There is something that happens.
Yeah, there's truly something that happens. I want to take this a different direction. And this sometimes questions just pop in my head. And this is an odd one, Katie. So bear with me on
Okay,
this.
cool.
I have a prediction, and people can disagree with me, but I think in the next 3 to 4 years, we're going to see a drastic reduction in human to human relationship, especially romantic. And we'll see a vast increase in human to technology relationship. We're already seeing it where people are marrying their AI boyfriend or waking up and talking to ChatGPT as opposed to talking to their partner. And we haven't even begun to crack the surface with this. I'm really curious if you think practices like Shibari and creation of intimacy that require, like, my phone will never tie me up. I will never tie up the internet or ChatGPT. And so I'm curious, do you see your work becoming more and more, not necessary isn't the right word, perhaps revered or accepted because the pendulum is going to swing so far in the other direction
Mm-hmm.
as far as intimacy and connection goes? Or have you contemplated like what the impact will be on this massive tech spike that's coming into society right now on you and your work?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I think there is, I mean, to the technology piece, yes, but like people in general, there's more openness to kink and BDSM practices in
Mm,
general. There's more of like an openness to that. So simultaneously, that is happening. Also, alternative ways of connection is opening up. People are like, oh, I
mm,
can do things with my friends and my lover and my partner, and they're all can be different things. So there is this more open idea. And I
okay.
think people are becoming more desperate for connection. I think that, yes, the technological piece is satiating something, but obviously it's not going to meet everything because we're a body that needs physical contact, and to be in physical contact with other beings that are alive and have beating hearts like ours and blood that pumps through our veins like ours and who have our hormones like us and who match with us in this way. We need this sort of connection. And I believe it will be a big problem and a big need to be in physical connection. And I do a
Yeah.
lot of different connection retreats and workshops that I both host and attend. And
Yeah.
it's astonishing to me when just looking into someone's eyes is hard for someone, or just touching someone's
Mhm.
hands palm to palm is hard for
Mhm.
someone. This is terrifying to me, that this is
Yeah.
where we're at. So with this growth in technology and technological relationships, I'm a little bit concerned, yeah, with people's ability to connect with one another. And there probably will be a backlash to that in
Yeah.
some way.
Yeah. I think people are going to be seeking, there'll be a tail, like we'll hit this spike and everyone's like, cool, I don't need humans, I have my app. And then there's gonna be like, well, I really like snuggling,
Yeah,
I
the life
really
force
miss
will just
touch,
dissipate.
I miss the smell of hair and kissing and humanity. Then I feel like there'll be a resurgence almost of things that were once deemed unnecessary, or even as kink and shibari go, inappropriate.
Mm-hmm.
I just interviewed Douglas Thomas, if you know him. He wrote The Deep Psychology of BDSM and Kink, and he talked about how he's seeing, he's a therapist, just like you mentioned, the openness now around
Mm.
different relational constellations and different ways of receiving pleasure, giving pleasure. Like the world is opening a bit, but it feels like it's also counteracting with how many people are kind of dropping out and being like, men are a pain in the ass, I'm gonna fall in love with AI. Women are a pain in the ass, I'll worship Andrew Tate, or whatever direction they're going. Definitely curious times. Kate, can I ask you? I would love to ask you about your life. I don't want to brand you, but you're uncivilized as fuck. Like I can just give this to you. I'm gonna send you a T-shirt soon, a sticker for your water bottle. Tell us a little bit about how you took this idea of like, wow, I found this thing. It's moving people. It's really really impactful, and turned it into a business.
Mm.
And then more so, how do you as a human navigate the fact that you're on the road so much? You're in different time zones. You're in different, like you're in very different worlds in any given month, where it's not like, well, I'm in New York and then I'm in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
You're in Thailand and then Costa Rica and now Utah.
Mm.
How did you turn this into a business, and how are you navigating that?
Yeah. So when I discovered the ropes and started tying so diligently every single day and was dedicated to the practice, it was purely from like artistic passion, desire. There was no way, shape, and form in my mind that this was going to be my work. Like
Yeah.
it was just, I couldn't stop doing it. I was so drawn to it. I was so passionate about it. It just made sense to me. And the exploration was just intoxicating. Truly. I was
Mm.
high every day tying people. And so what ended up happening is people started coming to me. Oh, I heard you do ropes. Will you do a session with me? And I'd be like, okay.
Mm.
So I was doing trades with people, and more and more
Mm-hmm.
people were coming. And I was like, okay, there's only so many trades I can do in a week. Like, I
Yeah.
can't do this. And so then I was like, maybe I could get financial support. So I started asking for money, and then people were coming to me and like paying me for sessions. And then people were like, hey, come and do a performance here. And I was like, okay. Hey,
Mm.
come teach a workshop here. And I'm like, okay. So it all
Yeah.
started coming to me. I didn't by no means try to make this a job. It was like
Okay.
they were clawing at me. And so I
Yeah.
was doing this in Thailand. And then when kind of the COVID thing started to wind down some and travel became safe and open, I returned to the last place I lived, which was Utah, because when I left Thailand, or when I left I finished the wilderness therapy job, and I was going on a 5-week vacation to Thailand.
Wow.
And then I got stuck, and I lived there for 2.5 years.
Wild. So
So
wild.
to talk about the uncivilized part, first off, I was living in the outdoors for 2.5 years, like camping under the stars, showering maybe 4 times a month because I worked 8 days on, 6 days off. And
Yeah.
so I was already like pretty feral.
Yeah.
I was a feral creature. Like when COVID hit Thailand, I was like, okay, we need to go fishing. We need to find the resources. We need to get all the coconuts. Like I was like going into survival mode. Like it was ridiculous. We're hunting for sea cucumbers. Like I was going crazy. So that, and then going to Thailand and getting stuck there for 2.5 years, not stuck. I was stuck for 6 months and then I chose to stay.
Sure.
But I had to let go of like everything. Like I was like, okay, the relationships that I had, the friendships I'm attached to, the place that I love, like seeing my family regularly, all of these things which started to bring so much anxiety and desire and loss and longing. I just would sit with and be like, okay, this feeling will pass. Like I will just be with this feeling and it'll pass. And so that, and then living in Thailand and having to figure it out and kind of really trusting this experience kind of just taught me that like, fuck it, you can do whatever you want. Like I don't have to do what they say. I don't have to have the house or have the certain job or have the certain thing. Like I can live alternatively because I already was doing it in Thailand. And so when I came back to the US, it was a gamble. I was like, I'm just going to offer some workshops and see what happens because I don't know. No one knows me. Like no one really like understands like the Shibari thing that I'm doing right now. So I just started hosting workshops and they were filling up and I was like, okay. And so I just stopped in all the last places that I had lived. So I stopped in Utah. I stopped in Boulder. I stopped in Asheville, seeing my people along the way because Katie disappeared for 2.5 years. And it just was opening up so many experiences. And then I was getting invitations to travel here and there and just kind of following that lead.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And so I do live very alternatively. Like I don't own a house. I am renting homes and house sitting and Airbnb-ing and staying with other people all over the world. I have a really big community of friends that I met in Thailand that is international, and I just kind of follow those threads and then people I've met along the way. And yeah, it is a different lifestyle. And the reason why I travel to these different places is because they access different parts of me. Like when I'm in Utah, to me, it's about the land. It's about connecting to the outdoor landscape and these vast places that are so exotic and otherworldly. But then when I go to Thailand, it's more about, it's such a touch-friendly culture of like the expat community that is there, where it's like everyone feels very comfortable with touch and hugging and like intimacy as friends. And it doesn't mean like anything. And there's all these other educators and I love learning. And so I'm taking workshops and I'm expanding my fields in many different ways. And then I'll travel to Berlin and I'll explore like that whole side of kink and relating. And yeah, so every place gives me different nuggets and it satiates different sides of me because I am not just this. I'm like also a dirtbag climber. I'm also a dominatrix. I'm also a motorcycle rider. I'm also like a redneck. I'm also like a spiritual shaman that goes into trance states and moves energy in different ways. I also feel pain of other people. Like I'm a multidimensional human and I don't want to be stuck as just one person or what woman is or what person is. Like I am so many things and like I'm going to display all those things. Like I don't want to just be, oh, this is me today. No, I'm also a shit show that's running around naked in the woods. Like, I don't know. I'm all of these things and I want everyone else to be all of their things instead of just presenting as what they're supposed to be. And I am really resistant to being the supposed to. I'm supposed to behave this way. I'm supposed to go to family reunions or family things because I'm supposed to out of obligation. Like, fuck obligation. Fuck supposed to. Fuck shoulds. Like, get down to the truth. So honestly, I'm following my truth, which makes me stand apart a lot.
Yeah. You are uncivilized AF. I got to tell you, I love this. I love every aspect of it. Okay, do you feel this is something I grew up in Japan and have a bunch of international school friends. still. God bless Facebook for whenever it
Yeah.
came out for like reconnecting us. And I'm curious if you have this experience too, because it seems to be for people who have lived a chunk of time overseas rather than like dabbled, a couple weeks here and there. And that is the feeling of the world is your home,
Mhm.
but nowhere particular feels like home. Is that something that you relate to, or do you really feel like you're home wherever you go?
It is a tricky question, and it's hard, especially when people are like, "Oh, where are you from?" or "Where's home?" And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, depends on which part of
Yeah.
me you're speaking to. But yeah,
Mm,
wherever I am, I do try to connect to my resources and make some sort of home sensation. So usually that's my like when I travel now, it's rarely sightseeing. It's like connecting to whatever communities are similar. So I'm a dancer, so connecting to the dance community
mm,
or breath work or tantra or Shibari if it's available. So
mhm.
connecting to those different communities where there's a similar thread where it can feel like a sense of home because there's a similar conversation style and themes that we speak on. Um,
Gotcha.
and then also like yeah, I have friends all over the world, so that becomes a sense of home. And honestly, my friendships are my most valued relationships.
Mm,
I really invest in friendship, and I don't just focus. I mean, when I have a partner, yes, partner, and I make sure that I disperse, and I'm also nourishing these other relationships in my life. They're very important to me. So whenever
mm,
I'm in any place, like those people, I'm like, okay, people, I'm with you. Like now you're the point of focus, and I'm able to pick up like this because I stay in contact with these
mm.
souls regularly.
I love it. Thank you. In the last few minutes, I would love for you to share any advice that you have around the big scary I word of intimacy. I know you're a Shibari you've been my Shibari teacher, so I think of you first as Shibari, but I think as bigger, like if there was a bigger hat that I think you wear, it's around intimacy and connection.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, you're brilliant with rope, but I feel like rope is like the paintbrush and intimacy and connection is the paint.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like, and this is my own projection, we are in a crisis of connection and a crisis of intimacy inside and more importantly outside of the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, given your teaching and training and traveling and the way you've designed your life and the humans that you've interacted with, what do we do right now around creating more connection, whether that's someone listening to this who has a partner and wants to be closer to their partner, someone who doesn't have a partner and wants to be closer to themselves, someone who just wants to feel the world more deeply? What are some of the ways or thoughts or ideas that you can share for people to create a deeper sense of connection and intimacy in the world?
Yeah, I love this question. And there's a few words that were coming to mind. One is from our friend Brene Brown with vulnerability and like this ability
Mm,
to be permeated, like both emotionally and physically, and being vulnerable. And to speak to Chat GPT, the reason why Chat GPT is easy to talk to is every time you say something, immediately Chat GPT validates you and
yeah.
reflects back to you exactly what you said. And it's like,
Right.
I hear
Right.
you. You said this. So to
Right.
me, one of the main components of intimacy is communication and learning
Mm,
how to listen. And there is so much that can happen. And that's why I love ropes is it creates this heightened space where you have to talk about
mm,
what you're about to do because it's vulnerable and there's a risk. And when there's
mhm,
risk, people get more serious. So
mm,
communication, learning how to listen. So like my journey with authentic relating and nonviolent communication really helped cultivate deeper intimacy just in communication with revealing my experience or revealing how I feel with another person or revealing how what they did or what I experienced impacted me and learning how to talk. Number one. Number two, by learning how to understand like through NVC my emotions and my thoughts and all these things, and then how to communicate with authentic relating, then asking for connection and understanding that human connection is natural and it's needed. And so like then I turn to things like Betty Martin and the Wheel of Consent and giving and
mhm,
receiving and learning how to ask for touch or for presence, and then just the quality of touch and learning how to slow down and receive touch on your body, not just like, oh, can I get a massage and someone's just grabbing at your body but not actually feeling you breathing, feeling, dropping in. So to me
mhm,
intimacy is like the communication piece and also the coming into more physical proximity and also learning to discern your yeses and nos, because yes, there's physicality happening in life that people don't want. So how to advocate and create safety for yourself. And most people stray away from intimacy because they don't feel safe. So the cultivation of safety in your body and learning how to honor your yeses and your nos and how to advocate and protect and take care of yourself will allow you to feel safer in relating spaces, and how to manage things like rejection, because ChatGPT doesn't reject you, it accepts you. And so like there is this wound around coming in contact with people because we've been hurt both verbally and physically and emotionally. So yeah, intimacy is those two qualities, and then also cultivating trust, and trust is built when there's a sense of risk. And so like vulnerability is a risk, or ropes is a risk, or adventure sports and you have a climbing partner is a risk. And so it cultivates intimacy and vulnerability in a certain experience because you're witnessing the other person in a situation that's more intense. But yeah, all of those I think are some components to intimacy.
Thank you. Yeah, it's beautiful. I appreciate that. I hope people listening take to heart everything that you've said. And Kati, where can we send people who want to follow you, learn more about you, study with you, be in session with you? Where are you hanging out these days? Anything you have coming up? This will probably come out in the next 3 to 4 weeks. So June, July stuff, anything you'd love to share?
Yeah. So on my website, I have my tour schedule for the US. I'm going to be in both Salt Lake, in Boulder, and North Carolina. And then I'm also hosting retreats. And so coming up, I have a retreat. It's booked, but I have another one coming up in August for women. And it is all around this. It's around ropes and sensuality and touch and body.
Beautiful.
And then I also be back in Costa Rica. Say again.
Where is that one?
That is going to be in Utah also, in Big Cottonwood Canyon. A women's retreat. And yeah, any of my locations, I'm available for private classes. I'm teaching workshops. I'm available for couples sessions. I also do private retreats for couples who want to go deeper into intimacy and exploration with ropes and kink and communication. And also for those who want to do some distance learning, I have an online course that I have just finally created. It's called The Art of Connection. And so we speak on the communication piece, learning tying, how to play with your partner. And for your uncivilized folks, they have a promo code if they want to get a 15% discount and hop on that online course to learn and get initiated into the art of connection.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And thanks for joining. I said it's a pleasure. It's always great to talk to you. And I'm going to try to make one of your, I think you're in Boulder in August. Yeah.
I am. Yeah. I'm doing a collaboration and it's called Edge. And it's going to be about ropes and eroticism and vulnerability and things that make us feel cringy but expand us.
Sounds divine. Thank you again for being here. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, Traver. This was amazing. I love chatting with you.
Take care. Do you want to help support the podcast? I know you do. Perfect. Here's how. Please take 12 seconds, scroll down, slap us with a 5-star review, and share this episode with one person in your life. Think about this. You tip your bartender and he serves you poison. And all I'm doing is pouring soul-stirring truth right into your ears. And if you haven't gotten a chance to grab one of my books, please get a hold of Today I Rise, snag a copy of Man Uncivilized, or get yourself some 28 Days in Darkness. Buy one for yourself, buy one for a friend, and buy one for your ex who's still watching your Instagram stories. I love you. Thank you. Until next time, stay uncivilized.